Namo Ramana Revathi.
Namo Ramana. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Prostrations to Ramana, shining as the Self in all beings. We begin today's satsang with a prayer by Srimati Sapna Ganesh. This will be followed by the chanting of Muktaka trayam.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आर्यं चन्द्रतारादि तं नमस्तात्विकं शिवम् ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय. नमो Ramana to everyone.
एकमक्षरम् हृदि निरन्तरम् भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रम् ह्यहम् अहमिति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसा स्वं चिन्वता मज्जता वा पवनचलनरोधात् आत्मनिष्ठो भवत्वम् देहं मृण्मयवज्जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तदभावसुप्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावयुतः कुतो वरधिया दृष्ट्वात्मनिष्ठात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana. We will now have the chanting of Upadesa Saram by Uma Sripathy.
Namo Ramana.
इदमहं पदाभिक्यमन्वहम् अहमिलीनकेऽप्यलयसत्तया विग्रहेन्द्रिया
ಪ್ರಾಣಧೀತಮಾ ನಾಹಮೇಕಸತ್ ತಜ್ಜಡಂ ಹ್ಯಸತ್ ಸತ್ವಭಾಸಿಕಾ ಚಿತ್ಕ್ವವೇತರ ಸತ್ತಯಾ ಹಿ ಚೇತ್ ಚಿತ್ತಯಾ ಹ್ಯಹಂ ಈಶ ಜೀವಯೋರ್ ವೇಷಧೀಬಿದ ಸತ್ಸ್ವಭಾವತೋ ವಸ್ತು ಕೇವಲಂ ವೇಷಹಾನತ ಸ್ವಾತ್ಮದರ್ಶನಂ ಈಶದರ್ಶನಂ ಸ್ವಾತ್ಮರೂಪತ ಆತ್ಮಸಂಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಸ್ವಾತ್ಮದರ್ಶನಂ ಆತ್ಮನಿರ್ದ್ವಯಾದಾತ್ಮನಿಷ್ಠತಾ ಜ್ಞಾನವರ್ಜಿತ ಅಜ್ಞಾನಹೀನ ಚೇತ್ ಜ್ಞಾನಮಸ್ತಿ ಕಿಂ ಜ್ಞಾತುಮಂತರಂ ಕಿಂ ಸ್ವರೂಪಂ ಇತ್ಯಾತ್ಮದರ್ಶನೆ ಅವ್ಯಯ ಭವ ಅಪೂರ್ಣಚಿತ್ಸುಖಂ ಬಂಧ ಮುಕ್ತ್ಯತೀತಂ ಪರಂ ಸುಖಂ ವಿಂದತೀಹ ಜೀವಸ್ತು ದೈವಿಕ ಅಹಮಪೇತಕಂ ನಿಜ ವಿಭಾನಕಂ ಮಹದಿದಂ ತಪೋ ರಮಣವಾಗಿಯಂ. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ.
Namo Ramana. We will be presenting 2 songs from Ramananjali Sangeetam. First one will be presented by Srimati V. Radha. The second song will be presented by Revathi Shankar. Namo Ramana to all. Today I will be presenting a song written by Sri Satyamangalam Venkatramaiyer. The Kannada translation is by N.S. Lakshmi Narayana Bhatta and the music is by Sri H.K. Narayana. ಪಾಲಿಸು ನಮ್ಮನು ಗುರುರಮಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ. ಪಾಲಿಸು ನಮ್ಮನು ಗುರುರಮಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ. ಹೊನ್ನಿನ ಬಣ್ಣದ ಮೈಯವನೇ, ಚಿನ್ನರ ನಗೆಯನು ತಳೆದವನೇ. ಹೊನ್ನಿನ ಬಣ್ಣದ ಮೈಯವನೇ, ಚಿನ್ನರ ನಗೆಯನು ತಳೆದವನೇ. ಆತ್ಮದ ಅರಿವಿನ ಅನಂತ ಪರಿಮಳ ಲೋಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹರಿಸಿದ ಋಷಿವರನೇ. ಆತ್ಮದ ಅರಿವಿನ ಅನಂತ ಪರಿಮಳ ಲೋಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹರಿಸಿದ ಋಷಿವರನೇ. ಪಾಲಿಸು ನಮ್ಮನು ಗುರುರಮಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ತಲೆ ಎತ್ತುವ ನೋವಿಗೆ ಕೊನೆ ಬರಲಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲಿ ತಲೆ ಎತ್ತುವ ನೋವಿಗೆ ಕೊನೆ ಬರಲಿ. ಸತ್ಯ ಕಾಮನೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಪಾದದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟೇನು ಶಿರವನು ಭಕ್ತಿಯಲಿ. ಸತ್ಯ ಕಾಮನೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಪಾದದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟೇನು ಶಿರವನು ಭಕ್ತಿಯಲಿ. ಪಾಲಿಸು ನಮ್ಮನು ಗುರುರಮಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ. ಉರಿಯುವ ದಿನಕರ ಬಿಂಬದಲ್ಲಿ ತಂಪೆರೆಯುವ ಹುಣ್ಣಿಮೆ ಚಂದ್ರನಲ್ಲಿ. ಉರಿಯುವ ದಿನಕರ ಬಿಂಬದಲ್ಲಿ ತಂಪೆರೆಯುವ ಹುಣ್ಣಿಮೆ ಚಂದ್ರನಲ್ಲಿ. ಬಿರಿಯುವ ಹೂವಿನ ಎದೆಯಲ್ಲಿ, ಬಿರಿಯುವ ಹೂವಿನ ಎದೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿನ್ನ ಸತ್ವವೇ ಅರಳಿದೆ ನಿತ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಪಾಲಿಸು ನಮ್ಮನು ಗುರುರಮಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ. ಪಾಲಿಸು ನಮ್ಮನು ಗುರುರಮಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ, ನಮ್ಮಾತ್ಮವ ಬೆಳಗುವ ರವಿಕಿರಣ. ನಮೋ ರಮಣ. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Today is the day when Bhagavan is doing his journey to Arunachala. He started from Madurai to Tiruvannamalai on 29th of August. So he's in the train and walking with no food, no water, so much of tiresomeness, just to reach Arunachala as his command, the Father's command, without thinking about anything. In that self, he is merged in the self, and being in the self, he is just going towards Arunachala. His body doesn't even exist to him. So he has shown us that for every problem, the solution is to go to Arunachala. And this Arunachala is not only a physical state, not only a physical place, it is the state of the self. Being in the self is reaching Arunachala. Here and now, you place all your thoughts, cut down all the thoughts, and hold on to that self which is shining bright within yourself. And there shines Arunachala. Bhagavan has said, Hariyadi itara jeevara daha varija guhayil. I am shining from Hari to all the beings on this earth as the Hridaya Kauhara, as the Hridaya Kamala. I am shining as Arunachala Ramana in each one of the being's heart. It's not only human beings. Every being's heart is only Ramana, nothing else. So when Ramana is shining in the heart, bright, where does the question of ignorance or darkness arise? No shoka, no sadness, no distress. There is only bliss, there is only peace. Even if it is there, when we think of Arunachala, they say, Smaranat Arunachalam, think of Arunachala and he gives us mukti. So, when we think of Arunachala, all the difficulties go away. The poet here says, it will change the fate of the person. All the difficulties will change into happiness. How does this happen? Does Bhagavan do magic? Or does Bhagavan change the fate? It happens like this. We see Arunachala, and when we see Arunachala, nothing else is present. Only Arunachala is shining. When the shining light Arunachala is seen, is only seen, where can we see darkness? When the sun is there, there is no darkness. So we can't see the distress or sadness or difficulties when the sun of sun is shining within us. Any kind of moha, any kind of thought, any kind of difficulty just burns out, it vanishes. And only the aham, aham, aham spurana remains, and the dance of Aham continues within us. And it gives us the protection of Bhagavan's blessing. His grace is always there to the one who holds on to the self. The self manifest as Ramana, as Arunachala, protects us all the time. Our job is to hold on to him. Bhagavan says to Devraj Mudaliyar asks, you become the cat mother and hold on to me all the time. I don't have the strength to hold on to you. But then Bhagavan says, I will do my job. You become the monkey child and hold on to me. Then I will hold on to you. So, any question we have, just answer is go back to the self. Chal Arunachal. This is written by Shriji Kameshwar. This is taken from the ballet Sri Ramana Leela, music by Dr. Ambika Kameshwar. Chal Arunachal, 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 Chal Arunachal. चल अरुणाचल, मोह से मन को ना कर घायल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, शोक भाग्य को डाल बदल, शोक भाग्य को डाल बदल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, सब प्रश्नों का एक ही हल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, सब जीवों का हृदय कमल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, सब जीवों का हृदय कमल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, अहम अहम भज ज्ञान की पायल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, अहम अहम भज ज्ञान की पायल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, ओढ़ ले प्रेम व ज्ञान का चल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, ओढ़ ले प्रेम व ज्ञान का चल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, प्रेम गीत जहाँ गाती कोयल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, प्रेम गीत जहाँ गाती कोयल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, शरण रमण के पद ये कोमल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, शरण रमण ये पद ये, शरण रमण के पद ये कोमल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल, चल अरुणाचल 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 चल अरुणाचल. Namo Ramana. We will now have reading and sharing from the book Ramana's Muruganar by Sri Nandakumarji.
Namo Ramana. In this, the book reading segment of our satsang, we are going to the next contribution in the book Ramana's Muruganar, a birth centenary offering compiled, edited by our founder president, Sri A. Natarajanji. We have finished the account of T.N. Pranatarthiharan. We are going on to the account of H. Vaidyanathan. His account is entitled In Remembering Muruganar. He writes, Guruvachaka Kovai and Muruganar. Guruvachaka Kovai and Muruganar by H. Vaidyanathan. Ramana used to clarify the doubts of persons asking questions about the Ramana way in particular and spiritual practices in general. These replies of Sadguru Ramana have been recorded in verse form by Muruganar and strung together. Therefore, it is called Guru Vachaka Kovai or Garland of Guru Sayings. Guru Vachaka Kovai or Garland of Guru Sayings. The verses composed by Muruganar in this work are 1254 verses. Muruganar was literally Ramana's shadow. He would never leave his presence. Even if Ramana went to other places, Muruganar was sure to follow him. This gave him the great advantage of being present when Ramana played his role as Guru and gave guidance to the inmates, devotees, and visitors. Muruganar would listen with utmost care and attention, for to him every word of Ramana was sacrosanct. Because of his total surrender, he could partake of the blessed natural state by Ramana's grace. Because of his total surrender, he could partake of the blessed natural state, the Sahaja Sthiti, by Ramana's grace. Hence, he could not only record accurately, but also express the true import of the words of Ramana, so that he himself had the Atmanubhava, that he could take down the teachings in the most appropriate way for us. The added advantage was that in many cases, the question and reply would be in Tamil. Being a peerless Tamil poet, Muruganar could record the sayings without any distortions. Each night, he would write these in Tamil verse and submit the verses for Ramana's scrutiny the following morning. Ramana would either approve of them or make such modifications as he considered necessary. In some instances, by way of amplification or further elucidation, he would himself compose some verses. So there were three ways in which Bhagavan would respond to Muruganar submitting him those verses of teachings. Ramana would either approve of them, that is number one, or make such modifications as he considered necessary, that is number two, just modifying the verse given. In some instances, by way of amplification or further elucidation, he would himself compose some verses. He would keep Muruganar's verse just as it is, but he would write one more verse in addition to that. There are 28 such verses by Bhagavan in this work. Independent verses by Bhagavan. Apart from the 1254 by Muruganar, there are 28 Bhagavan verses. As a consequence, each verse contains the priceless teachings of Bhagavan, of Ramana. Strung together, they are invaluable. Guruvachaka Kovai, they are invaluable. Guruvachaka Kovai, therefore, ranks along with Upadesa Saram and Ulladu Narpadu, composed by Ramana. The three together, Guruvachaka Kovai, Upadesa Saram, and Ulladu Narpadu, together constitute the basic tenets of Ramana's teachings. Some people call them as the Prasthana Traya of Ramana's teachings. Ramana himself said that Ramana Sannidhi Murai is on par with Manika Vachakar's Tiruvachakam. There can be no higher praise. Muruganar was an Asukavi, or a poet who could compose spontaneously like Kambar and Kalameha Pulavar. Kambar, of course, everyone knows. Kalameha Pulavar was a poet in the 15th century who was also known for his Asukavi nature or spontaneous poetry. The Kalameham itself or Kalameham itself refers to the clouds that are full of water, just waiting to pour. Like that was the poetry of Muruganar, Kalamega Pulavar and Kambar. Spontaneous. He himself said in several of his poems that his poetic genius flowered fully only by the grace of Ramana. Muruganar declares in one of his songs that they were composed when joy was bubbling within him and the words were flowing continuously. We owe to Vyasa the sacred Bhagavad Gita and the message of Sri Krishna. In like manner, the world has been given a spiritual treasure by Muruganar by composing this garland. This work has been divided into three parts: the quest, continued practice, and experiencing reality. Of course, we know the English translation by Robert Butler, Subramaniam sir, and Godman have classified this as the enquiry or vichara, or the discrimination, viveka, then vichara or meditation, and third, the experience of the truth. Here the author Vaidyanathan classifies them as the quest, continued practice, and anubhava, experience of reality. The number of subheadings are 85 under quest, 84 under continued practice, and 62 under experiencing reality for the three sections. The classifications have been done by Muruganar himself, assisted by Sri Sadhu Om Swamigal. Each verse in the subclassification would be appropriate to the heading, even though one may not necessarily find a linkage of ideas between them. That is, you will find that each verse is according to the subheading, but then there won't be any serial link between the verses. This was because the verses record the replies contemporaneously. Like there is no sequence, but only in the same time it was being recorded, that according to the time in which it was recorded, that sequence is there, as well as the connection is because of the heading, not because of any linkage between the verses. The verses themselves could have been written at different times and were just brought together in the string form. So you will find each verse is answering to the subhead, but then there is no verse to verse flow. Each verse in the subclassification would be appropriate to the heading, even though one may not necessarily find a linkage of ideas between them. This is because the verses record the replies contemporaneously. Therefore, one cannot expect connected ideas to flow one another. Since it is not possible to present the beauty and strength of all the poems, let us savor the sweetness of a couple of verses. The selection has been made to bring out the closeness of ideas and expressions of Muruganar and Ramana. He has selected a couple of pairs of verses. The idea for the selection has been to bring out how Muruganar's expression of the teachings and Bhagavan's expression of the teachings are close and identical. Selected verse number 802 from Guru Vachaka Kovai and Bhagavan's 15th verse, both of which go like this. First, Muruganar's verse: only he who has attained immortal life can save the world, for the ignorant one to help another is but blind leading the blind. This is an idea expressed by Muruganar, that only the one who has attained immortal life can save the world, for the ignorant one to help another is but the blind leading the blind. Bhagavan's verse 15 goes like this: only the Mukta can save the world. The blind cannot guide the blind. That is Bhagavan's verse. Two more verses connected. Like one who takes crocodile, first Muruganar, like one who takes a crocodile for a boat and with its help tries to cross a river, are those who, while they pamper the trivial flesh, claim also that they are earnest seekers of the living self. Like one, Muruganar again, like one who takes a crocodile for a boat and with its help tries to cross a river, are those who, while they pamper the trivial flesh, claim also that they are earnest seekers of the living self. Let's see what Bhagavan writes. This is Bhagavan 1. Give up the thought that this frail body is the self. Pursue the self which is eternal bliss. To seek it while cherishing the perishable body is like trying to cross a river using a crocodile for a raft. Bhagavan's verse: give up the thought that this frail body is the self. Pursue the self which is eternal bliss. To seek it while cherishing the perishable body is like trying to cross a river using a crocodile for a raft. Let's sign off with Muruganar's verse. Like one who takes a crocodile for a boat and with its help tries to cross a river, are those who, while they pamper the trivial flesh, claim also that they are earnest seekers of the living self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. We will now have some more sharing about self-inquiry by Sri Dileep Simha. He will also take us through the practice of self-inquiry.
We will commence the practice of self-inquiry by listening and meditating on Bhagavan's Upadesham. I'll be reading his Upadesham from the book Guru Vachaka Kovai, from the chapter Meditation on the Truth. The topic is the benefit of Gnana bestowing Vairagya. Verse 839. What a wonder! The sadhu who has a majestic mind and who moves about with no possessions, feeling I do not want anything, confounds the understanding of a king who deserves to be much pitied because of the anxieties that whirl his mind. I repeat the verse. What a wonder! The sadhu who has a majestic mind and who moves about with no possessions, feeling I do not want anything, confounds the understanding of a king who deserves to be much pitied because of the anxieties that whirl his mind. Here, Bhagavan is revealing the absolute truth of the self. When we reach that self and when we understand the way it is, it becomes very, very clear that no amount of possessions, whether in the form of knowledge, whether in the form of properties or any financial things that we carry is really held on in its sahaja nature, in its natural state. Though it is the light in which we can possess all of this, though in its light everything seems to be possible, but the self by its very nature is not something that can possess any object. It is fullness by itself. And therefore, when a gnani, Bhagavan says, looks at the nature of the self, he sees the majesty in his mind. He clearly recognizes there is nothing that he can possess and take it forward, and other than holding on to one's own natural state. And therefore, he will stop persuading possessions, says Bhagavan here. He recognizes that nothing he will take it forward. So I don't need anything. I don't want anything becomes very, very clear to him. Because in a very practical and straightforward way, in a natural way, he recognizes there is nothing that he can carry forward. So, recognizing his true nature, he will simply be and not even in any which way feel that he needs to possess anything. And having reached that, Bhagavan says that Gnani, having recognizes in that natural state and that majestic state of his, then a king who has to juggle with lot of things because he has piled up many things. He has piled up his kingdom, his governance, his money, his people, his courtyard, and his many things. He is basically a collection of so many objects in his kingdom. And Bhagavan says that the king will have to be pitied because he has to spend a lot of his time just juggling with all these anxieties of protecting or safeguarding his objects, whether it is in his mind or whether it is in his kingdom. But here is a Gnani who has, having recognized his real nature, very clearly and has recognized there is nothing that he will carry forward and that there is nothing he can even hold on to in his natural state. And therefore, with least anxiety and with no desire to hold on to anything, he will be like the self itself, says Bhagavan here. And that is a great wonder, says Bhagavan. And that is the real Vairagya. That is the real benefit of the Gnana, wherein it makes one recognize the natural Vairagya, which is innate nature of the self, that it can hold on to nothing other than itself. And in recognition of that thing, he becomes fearless and free, says Bhagavan, from all the objects. And such is the beauty of this recognition of the truth, says Bhagavan here. Bhagavan's immense grace, with which alone we have come to this most direct path. No matter how many ideas, thoughts rise, thinking that the objects bring happiness, if we can inquire to whom is this, recognize it is for me, then further inquire who am I, and with that inquiry, try to find out what do I really refer to as I, and then by that recognize the true nature of the natural state of oneself. It becomes amply clear by the grace of the Sadguru that the self cannot possess anything other than itself. And therefore, all these possession, whether it is mentally, intellectually, bodily, worldly, will all be seen to be of absolutely no use. And one really becomes fearless and free. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us practice Atma Vichara for the next 10 minutes. Bhagavate Sri Ramananjali.
Namo Ramana sir. We will now have the sharing of Atma Bodham by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande sir.
Oh. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunattu Sahaviram Karvavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvisha Vahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat, Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhyanamoolam Gurur Murtihi, Pujaamoolam Gurur Padam. Mantramulam Gururvakyam Mokshamulam Gurur Kripaha Mokshamulam Guru Ramana. We are doing Manana and Atma Bodha, and last satsang we did Manana on verse number 56. We'll do a quick recap of that. Realize that to be Brahman, which is across, above, below, all pervading existence, knowledge, bliss, and which is non-dual, infinite, eternal one. You experience Brahman on the destruction of your limiting equipment. That is the absolute state beyond which there exists nothing. Your mind being attached to this cannot conceive infinite glory and bliss of Brahman. This verse uses a psychological technique to lift the mind attached to the lower values of life. The intellect is then able to pursue the higher truth. Brahman is described here as the all-pervading reality, filling in all quarter, above, below, and everywhere. It pervades the microcosm and the macrocosm. Even the finite joys of the world are part of this infinite experience. The world and its enjoyments, therefore, are not left out of the experience of the Brahman. The all-embracing total bliss experienced on self-realization includes your existing joys as well. So this confirmation provides a psychological satisfaction to your mind, which is reluctant to discard the present attachments. Brahman is one homogeneous mass of reality existing eternally. The cosmic phenomena can be classified broadly under three heads. The inert objects, which is Brahman manifesting as the gross body, beings awake, which is manifesting through the subtle body, being asleep, Brahman manifesting through the causal body. Brahman functioning through these microcosmic bodies manifests itself as the total macroscopic existence, knowledge and bliss. So today we will do Manana on verse number 57, and I request Sapna to kindly chant the verses for us, please.
Yes, sir. Namo Ramana. अतद्व्यावृत्तिरूपेण वेदान्तैर्लक्ष्यते द्वयम् अखण्डानन्दमेकं यत् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत् अतद्व्यावृत्तिरूपेण वेदान्तैर्लक्ष्यते द्वयम् अखण्डानन्दमेकं यत् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्. Thank you, sir.
Sapna, realize that to be Brahman, which is indicated in Vedanta by the process of negation and which is non-dual and one, unknown bliss. By virtue of your unintelligent identification with sense objects and beings, you are attached to the world. By virtue of your unintelligent identification with the sense objects and beings, you are attached to the world. You do not enjoy the absolute bliss of Brahman. You feel more secure with the ephemeral pleasures of the world. The experience of Brahman is not possible as long as your mind is attached to the world. You must first negate the world to reach the Brahman. You must transcend your perceptions, emotions, and thoughts and surrender your equipments to experience the self. Once you realize the self, everything merges into the one homogeneous experience of unbroken bliss. It is like the dream world and its experiencing merging into the waker's mind when the dreamer awakens to the waking state. After awakening, the waker realizes that the entire dream is nothing but an aspect of his mind. For realizing this, he has to transcend the dream world. As long as the dreamer is confined to the dream world, he cannot conceive the waker's mind. Similarly, you cannot remain in the limitations of this world and at the same time experience Brahman. Hence, Veda suggests that you negate the terrestrial world in order to reach that infinite, unbroken bliss of Brahman. In the earlier verses, the self was indicated by the technique of Tadasha Lakshana. It is an indirect method of defining an object. From here on, a direct method called Swarupa Lakshana is employed for describing the reality. So he talks about, this is the same thing that all most of the verses talk about. It talks about how to be in the Brahman. So if you are identified with this body, Nama and Rupa, in time and space, and you're attached to all your objects that you see and hear and whatever it is, then what happens? You will not experience the infinite. Using the finite, you cannot, if you are in the finite, you cannot experience the infinite. So you have to use the method of negation. Neti neti. This is not Atman, this is not Atman, this is not Atman. And then finally, as you keep doing self-enquiry, inquire who am I, then what happens is the falsity drops off. When the falsity drops off, what remains is the Atman, the Brahman, where you become fearless and free because you are in absolute bliss. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana. Whom do you have chanting this morning? Oh, sorry. Whom do we have chanting next? Sorry, I get into my morning satsang mood sometimes. So used to that. Sorry.
No problem. Namo Ramana. We'll now have a sharing of Ramana Ashtottaram verses from Ramana Ashtottaram by Dr. Sarada.
Namo Ramana. Prostrations to Ramana. Shining is the self in all beings. With the immense grace of the self manifest as Ramana, we in this part of the satsang meditate on the namas of the Ramana Ashtottara Shatanamavali, composed by Vishwanatha Swami. And these are depicting in a manner the life of Bhagavan. We begin with the Ruminatha Stalottitaya Nama, Sundarare Tappalaya Nama. Especially the first half is very much biographical. And then we go on to having the descriptive namas of Bhagavan as well. Many adjectival namas. And the last time we were meditating on the nama Om Purnaya Namaha. So he is the fullness. The Vedic mantra goes Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. So the Purnamada, that is full. Purnamidam, this is also full. So from the full has arisen. And when the full disappears into the full remains. That is to say, there is never any limitation, never any division. The fullness alone is the truth. That is what Vishwanatha Swami is pointing out to us. We find in Bhagavan's life, everything is complete. Everything is perfect. There is no lack. In Sadhu Swami, he says, Paurnami nilavilum sirikurai undu, yene purana odisai Ramanesha. In the full moon also, there seems to be some small blemish seems to be there, but you should make me into the full light. Make me means what? Means make me aware that I am the very fullness. That fullness alone is the self. And all other thoughts of division, as we keep on repeatedly hearing, they are all only illusions. The fullness is the truth. So we find that Bhagavan, whether he is cutting vegetables, or whether he is binding books, or whether he is doing some other task, any task, sometimes we will be playing marbles also with the children. Whatever he is doing, it is full, it is complete. So, there is an instance where it is said that Kunjaswami was in the kitchen working with Bhagavan, or his thoughts went to another realm, thinking maybe it's better if I was doing meditation. And then Bhagavan asked him, what are you thinking about? No, I was wondering whether it's better to do meditation than to be cutting vegetables. Then Bhagavan said, whatever you are doing, be fully in that. Otherwise, when you are meditating, you may think, oh, it may be better to cut vegetables. So, whatever one is doing, one must be fully in that. That is the Purnatva of Bhagavan. So for us, when we look at this Nama, Purnaya Namaha, one is that as a practice, we must get fully into the now. Fully into the now, without any distractions, without any regrets as to why we are doing this, whether we should have been doing something else, without any such dilemma, to be fully dedicated to whatever we are doing. That is the fullness. That is the fullness. The fullness is Purnam. So, to be fully with whatever we are doing. Another point which this Nama brings out to us is that the self is immanent and transcendent. It is all enveloping, Purnam. Actually, everything is in it, says Bhagavan. Tannul tanu irukka tanan cheda udalan tannul iruppada tanun mannavan சித்திரத்தின் உள்ளுளத சித்திரத்து காடார வஸ்திரம் என்றெண்ணுவான். So Bhagavan says that one thinks that what is actually within the movie is itself the basis of the movie. It is to say, the I thought is within the self. But we think the self is in the I thought. We think we know the self because of the I thought. But actually, what is the truth? The truth is that the I, the body, everything is included. When Bhagavan had his enlightenment, he said, I realize that the self is all pervading, including and transcending the body, including the body. So, this body is within the self. But we think the self is within the body. We think we need to get to know the self which is within the body. How to get to know it? Through our mind. With the mind or the ego wants to grasp the self which is fullness. How can it grasp the self? So Bhagavan says the only way to experience the fullness is Unadal. Unadal Khan. You have to become food unto it. You have to merge into the fullness and remain as the fullness. Ullatte, ullapadi, ullade, ullal. So this fullness cannot be experienced through duality. Because in duality, there is division. In division, there is limitation. There is never fullness. So if the fullness has to be experienced, the fullness, if we want to taste the Purna Ramana, the Purnaya Namaha, then one needs to do away with the multiplicity, do away with attention to objects which rise in the form of thoughts. And how is one to do that? By questioning every thought which arises. Every object is questioned. And when it is questioned, what happens? It gets back into its source. So, to understand and abide in the fullness is the goal that is laid down before us by Bhagavan. In fact, in his Ekashloki, he says, Pavana Chalan, Chinvata Majjata Va Pavana Chalan Arodhat Atmanishto Bhavatvam. Do what you will, my dear children, but get back to the self. Get back to abidance in the self, says Bhagavan in that Ekashloki. So that is the fullness. That is the Purnam. And by Bhagavan lived that in every moment. In every moment, to show us that that fullness is all pervading. There is no conflict. It's not as if while cutting vegetables, Bhagavan is limited. And then later when he goes and sits in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, he is unlimited. No, not like that. all the time, because actually there is no time and there is no space. But since we perceive in space, to tune into that. We have to tune into that fullness. Otherwise, sometimes it may happen that we feel ourselves separate from it due to various circumstances. How can we be separate from it? Again, in his Padigam, he says, Veli Veli Teenir Manpara Uiral Viri Uru Buddha Bodhihangal Veli Oli Unnai Andri Indrenin Veru Yana Arulan Vimala. So he says that everything, this Ashtamurti Brit, Veli, Veli, Ti, Neer, Man. So all these are nothing but the self, nothing but you, O Arunachala. But when we see it separately, when we see it as one, like the images on the movie screen, then it will not be apart really. It will be full. But if we see only the images separately, then we get into the divisive mode. We forget the Purna and get into the mode of Apurna, that which is not full. So that which is divided, we get into that mode. Bhagavan is the fullness. And when Bhagavan is the fullness, what is it that we have to worry about? What is it that we have to even think about? Nothing at all. So again and again, it's pointed out to us that Bhagavan is Purna. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Radha.
Namo Ramana. We will now have the chanting of Aksharamanamalai by Srimati V. Radha.
Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. நைவழி கனியான நிலை பதத்தில் நாடி உட்கொள்ளலம் அருணாச்சலா. நொந்திடாதுந்தனை தந்தனை கொண்டிலை அந்த கனி எனக் கருணாச்சலா. நோக்கிய கருதி மெய்தாக்கிய பக்குவம் ஆக்கினியாண்டருள் அருணாச்சலா. பற்றிமல் விடத்தரை ஒற்றிர முனமருள் பற்றிட அருள் பொறி அருணாச்சலா. பார்த்தருள் மாலர பாத்திலையனின் அருள் பாருணக்கார் சொல்வார் அருணாச்சலா. பித்த விட்டுனை நேர் பித்தனாக்கினையருள் பித்தம் தெளி மருந்தருணாச்சலா. வீதியில் உன்னை சார் வீதியில் என்னை சேர் வீதி உந்தனக்கே அருணாச்சலா. புல்லறிவேதுரை நல்லறிவேதுரை புல்லிடவே அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பூமண மாமண பூரண மணம் கொள்ள பூரண மணம் அருள் அருணாச்சலா. பெயவினை திடவே பிடித்திடு தனை உன் பெருமையறிவார் அருணாச்சலா. பேத்தனம் விட விடா பேயா பிரித்தனை பேயனக்கினையன் அருணாச்சலா. பைக்கொடியானான் பற்றின்றி வாழாமல் பற்று கொடாய்கா அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचल शिव अरुणाचल अरुणाचलं वाणी अनुभर्गडुं वाणी अक्षरमणमालै वाणी नमो रमण
Namo Ramana. We will conclude today's satsang with the Ashtottara puja to Bhagavan. The Ashtottara puja will happen at Sri Dileep Simha's altar by Sri Dileep Simha. The Ashtottaram will be chanted by Revathi Shankar and Uma Sripathy. We conclude the satsang with the Arati to Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. गणोद्भवाय नमः। ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः। ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः। ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः। ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः। ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौळिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ फुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः।
ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलरद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्ग्रि सरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ मृच्छान्तकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणात् बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणाद्रीशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ आर्धविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ॐ श्रीरमणभगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थाणोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तरज्योतिषे। नमो 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 रमण सदाशिवप्रभावरण नमो महर्षि। नमो महर्षि दर्शनसुखमङ्गलमुखसकलजीवहितसम्मुख ब्रह्मसङ्गिये सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानन्दपुष्ट परममहर्षि। ब्रह्मनिष्ठसमदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡು ತೆಮ್ಮ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಪೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ ಪ್ರಭಾವರಣ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ ನಮೋ ಮಹರ್ಷಿ बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
Jai.